last week we said we were going to focus, let me just move these that way, we were going to focus on doing some curved photo slots, and I'm using the Cats curved photo slots. I'm using the large one and I'm using the next size down like that. So the nice thing is I can actually create a curve round those beautiful roses. I do need to cut this down to size, so let me just, everything has fallen out of there, which is just fantastic because that's what I need, but we'll worry about that as we go along. So the page it's going on is 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. So I just want to, good morning Denise, good morning, how are you this morning? I'm just going to cut this to 7.5 by 7.5. So let me bring this out, and I don't want to cut from this edge. So 7.5 by 7.5. So check twice, cut once. Yep, that's where I want to go. Okay. So that's my page done. So that will now fit nice and neatly onto there. So now I'm going to use my slot dies, my curved slot dies. So these have got, I don't know whether you can see, but they've got little sort of like pinholes, which creates a nice border for your slots. So I'm going to put the first one on to try and incorporate as much of the flower as I can. So I'm going to put the first one on like that, and I'm going to put some tape on it. And then the second one, again, I want to try and incorporate as much of the flower as I can. Now these dies are lovely if you don't want to spoil the pattern. And I quite like the curves to sort of go the same. So I'm just going to alter that one slightly and bring that round slightly. And I think that's probably the best I can get. So make sure they're taped on securely, and I'm just going to run them through my electric machine. So it is going to make a bit of a noise, I'm afraid. So I'm just going to put them on there, put these on the top, and I'll just run these through very, very quickly. So while that's running through, what I was going to show you, but I think it's ended up on the floor, was a little tag that I've made to go with this. Now I was going to show you how to do that this morning, but it's disappeared down the black hole down there. So what I'll do is I'll put that on my list of things to show you how to make next week. But it is a rather nice little tag book. So let me take this off here. This is what happens when your craft room is such a mess and you haven't got much space, which was why I got the big craft table out downstairs when I was making up the packs. Right, okay. So I've cut these out and I'm just going to very carefully lift them. Now the reason I'm doing it very carefully, partly because I don't want to tear the papers, but because I want to leave the bit that's cut out inside the die until I'm ready for it. So if you don't do that, you'll lose it. So I'm do the same with this one. Now this is Craft Perfect die tape. It is the best die tape I've ever come across. So it's made by Tonic Studios. And I've tried lots of different die tapes. And it's strong and it lasts for ages, but it doesn't mark or tear the paper. So as you can see at the moment, we've got these two slots cut in. And they look like two smiley faces, don't they? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this down. Now when you're sticking down, when you've got slot dies, you need to be a little bit careful where you put your glue. So I'm just going to go around the edge of this, and remember this one, because it has that sort of slight shabby chic look, you can actually take your inks onto the papers as well. So I'm just going to come round here and then round this one. Okay. Arrow, but I'm going to double check as well that I've got this up the right way. So when you're gluing this, oh, we're buffering again. Hasn't done that for ages. I'm wondering if it's whether I've got the microphone on, but never mind. So I'm going to glue around the edge, so all the way around the 4 edges. Now on this corner, I'm keeping as close to the edge as I can. Okay, so I'm just going to go around the edges like that. Now I don't want any glue on this bit, so I'm going to take a line there, because that's where I want that end, and a line there, and then I'm just going to clear that off there. Stuck to me again. Go away. The reason I wanted to clear it off is because I want it to be as fine as I can, and I just want to go round this top bit here, no more than just around the top. That will hold that in place. But I don't want to go any further because you want to be able to put things in this slot. So now I'm going to come up and round here, and I'm going to do the same around this slot. Now I don't have to be quite as careful around this one because I am going to put glue all the way there, a little bit there, a little bit there, just making sure I'm not putting glue anywhere that is going to impact on when I put my slots in. So I'm just going to pop that onto there. Carefully, just go around that with my finger. I don't want to squirt it out. And same with this one, although I don't have to be quite as careful with this one. And then I'm just going to go around now because I want the rest of it to stick really nice and firmly. Whoops, oozing out a bit there. Okay, so I'm going round there and should find I've got plenty of room in there and plenty of room in there. Now, you can leave it like that if you want to, but I quite like to put these bits back in, and you do need a fine nozzle for this. So I'm going to tap this out, turn it over, and then I'm going to just put a very fine layer of glue on here. Okay, and this really is a case of less is more. Just a very fine layer of glue. Then making sure it's the right way, I'm just going to start at one end and say make sure it's the right end. So if you're using a double-sided paper, make sure you've put the glue on the right side. Done that before as well. It looks ridiculous because then the pattern doesn't match up. And I'm just going round really carefully because again, I don't want the glue oozing out. And then I'm going to take my older multi-purpose tool because it's a bit thinner on the edge here. And I'm just going inside that curve, making sure it's stuck. The little insert bit is stuck, but the rest isn't. And then I'm just going to go around, keeping this inside so that I know nothing is sticking to that. But I do want this bit stuck down firmly. So I'm just going round. And then, as you can see, you've got an almost invisible piece there. Okay, so now I'm going to get the second one out, and I'm going to go around here, around this side, and as I say, don't put too much glue, use a very fine nozzle. And I'm going to do the same thing again, so making sure I'm matching up the pattern all the way around, feeding that in. Do it gently because sometimes the paper will stretch just that tiny little bit and you don't want that. And again, I'm going in with this, wrong one, go in with the older one because it's worn down more. Go in, whoops, push that just that bit too hard this time. Got a bit impatient there. Put it back in. Gently. Go in and just very gently work it in. Sorry, can't talk and be gentle at the same time. Just work it in. Work that. It has slid just that fraction, which is really annoying. If I can push it back, I will. There you go, that looks a bit better. Okay. So now, turn it on this way, you can see better. You can see your two curves. They haven't spoilt the picture, and they've just made it look, I think, really lovely. And then, as I say, I was going to show you how I made one of these, but all the dies have just disappeared down the black hole. But you can put a tag die in, you can put a tag in. I would give it a few more minutes normally to dry before I started doing that, but you could put something in there like that, and I will mess about and do that. Put something in this one. Just keep checking that it's not sticking. Okay, so I might just pop that in there for the time being, like that. So you can do all sorts then and put your tags in, make it look really lovely. So that is our page 2. So let me get this up the right way. So there's our page 1, there's our page 2, and I'll show you how to make the little tag next week. So I want to move on to page 3. Now, for page 3, we're going to do something we've done before, but do it slightly differently. So let me just put the lid back on this, because if you don't put the pin in, and it's because it's such a fine, can't see either. Right, one more try and I'll leave it. Just get that pin in the hole. That's it. Okay, move that out of the way. So we're going to use the waterfall mechanism, but we're going to do it slightly differently this time. And what I've used are the 12 by 12 tags. So if I can, I'll show you them in the 8 by 8. So these are the tags that I've used. No, not those. These. So these are the tags that I've used, and I've cut them down so they are actually, let me get the measurements for you. The tags are 5.5 by 3. I've just cut them down and made sure that they are 5.5 by 3.5. I'm thinking that this is buffering today because of the microphone. So I'm going to turn the microphone off. I thought I'd try it again today with the new. Let me just take it out. I thought I'd try it with the new system, but it's still buffering. I don't know whether that will make any difference, but we can see. So in the 12 by 12, I cut out the 6 of those. And I'm going to have them this way up. So I've rounded the corner on each one. I've cut my card tag to 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. So this is my blank one, 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. And again, I've curved those two edges. And then I've also cut some cream card, and I've cut that at 5 1/2 by 3 because you need this 1/2 inch to glue. So I've then got a piece of A4 card, which I've cut down to 5 3/4. And I've scored 6 1/2 inch score lines. Now you've seen me do this and you've seen lots of people do this, so I didn't think I needed to sort of go through it again, but you're just going to score 6 1/2 inch and fold them all to make your rolling piece. Okay, now because I was in a rush this morning and it all went horribly wrong, I have got a piece of cream card on the back of that you wouldn't normally have. Okay, this is your bottom one. It's the one that you don't decorate and you don't put a piece of cream card on it, but there you go, I've got it. So taking your very bottom fold, you're going to pop some glue on it. Again, you don't need much, just massage it in to the fibres. And I'm going to pop that onto there, like so. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that is down firmly onto there. Like that. I'll just turn it over and give it another from this side. Okay. So then I've cut myself, here we go, a piece of card. Now the measurements for this don't have to be exact. I've cut it to 1 inch by 7 1/2. And because I like everything neat, I have actually just rounded those corners off. They're not going to show. It's not for any reason other than the fact I like it neat. So what I'm going to do is lift this whole thing up and lay this on the table. I'm then going to place this whole thing back on top so that this piece can fold over both of these, so the underneath and that tag you've just glued on. And you want it quite near the bottom of the tag you've just glued on. And I'm just going to fold it. Now, some people will put score lines in. I don't. I think you get far more flexibility if you just give it a bit of a fold. And I'm going to glue, and you'll see I'm not gluing right up to that fold. Okay, I'm actually giving myself a little bit of leeway. I'm just going to press that down, press it down firmly, because this is the thing that's going to make the whole thing work. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same the other side. So I'm just folding it, I'm not creasing it, I'm not burnishing it. I want it to be reasonably loose so that everything slides. Morning, Debbie, don't worry about being late. It's just lovely to have you with us. Again, I'm going to put some glue on there, leaving a space, and fold that over like so. Okay. Now, this time it's going to go this way. So I want each of my cards to go this way. So I'm going to put my spare piece. So I've cut 6. I've cut 6 of the tabs. This is tab number 6. This is paper number 6. And you don't decorate this one first because you want to cover up these little bits. So I've gone round the edge of everything with my ink, and I've rounded off those 2 corners. And now I'm just going to stick this one onto here, like so. So give it a good burnish down. Okay, and now I'm going to choose the one I want as the top one. And I did choose this in advance and I've forgotten which one I chose. That's going to be my top one. So that's going to be the one I put on last. So now I'm going to put the rest of these on. So this one, whoops, I'll put some glue on here. Pushing it into the fibres rather than putting a lot on. And pop that one onto there. Give it a really good burnish down. And then the next one. Now, I had a lady make my day on Saturday. She came in and she said, I'm not from round here, I'm on holiday. She'd come to visit some relatives. She said, but I follow you, and when I saw you were going to be here, I wanted to come in and say hello. And it absolutely made my day. That somebody who wasn't local but had come to Shropshire made a point of coming in and saying hello. It was absolutely lovely. So that person knows who they are, and thank you. It really did make my day. So I'm going to pop this one on, and that's going to go on there. Like so. Like that. And then this one is going to go on like so. And like that. So just lift that up. And then finally the one that I want to go on the front, which I thought was this one because it's just beautiful. I love the flower and I love the ladybird. So I'll pop that onto there. And that's going to go onto the top. Just going to lift it up because it's getting quite thick now. And I want that to line up exactly at the top there. And I'm going to have to pinch it down a bit because it is quite thick with all the others in place. Okay, like that. So I'm just going to really work that one in. Okay. Now, obviously I don't want this big long bit here. So all the others are ½ an inch. So I'm going to find my ½ inch tool, that one. I'm going to pop that onto there so it's level with the bottom of the last one. Whoops. Just take it slightly out from that because I want to draw a line. I don't want the line appearing. Oh, I'll just draw it at the table. And so then I can just cut slightly inside the line and still have the ½ inch. Okay, let's move that out the way. So, everything is falling everywhere this morning. So I'm now going to just lift those up enough to get my corner punch into there. And then I'm going to need a piece of decorative paper to go in here. And I tend not to cut that in advance because you can never be quite sure what size you will need. So let me have a look. Have I got any scraps that will be big enough? No. Okay. So I think before I decide on that, I'm going to decide what paper to use for the background, because I think that might make a difference to what I put on there. So because this is going to take, I'll just close it up. It's going to take the middle section. So I don't mind so much what's in the middle of the paper, it's what's around the outside of the paper that's going to matter. So if I go through some of these, so that's not got as much as I would perhaps like. I mean, that is lovely, but I don't really want to lose that lovely pattern. Again, that's lovely, but I don't want to lose that lovely pattern. Could go for something like that, because that's got that nice cracked effect around the outside. I want that on the back page. That's quite nice. I'd have that, yes, look at that, I quite like that. I'll have that bit of tree and that bit of green, so that would be a possibility. Or I could have the other side. Okay, so here we go again. What do people think? So that one is going to be a possibility. And the other one I quite liked the look of was this one. So, flowers. Is that going to be too fussy? I'm hoping you can see. So, flowers, maybe a bit too fussy. Now I've put that on there. The green, I do like that. So the green, or the pink. And again, I quite like the pink. What do other people think? I think I'm gonna put that one away. It's too fussy. So the pink side or the green side? I'm pulled towards the green. Yes, Gillian, I think I agree with you. I think the green side is what I'm pulled towards. Okay, so I want to cut this down to 7.5 by 7.5. Yeah, Janet, you agree as well, the green. But I don't want to take it off here. So I'm going to take it off this side, which is a shame because I'll lose that bit, but I've got to lose something. Yeah, everyone's saying the green. I think I'm in agreement with that. So I'm just going to take 1/2 inch off there. And I'm going to take 1/2 inch off the bottom because I don't want to lose any of that flower on that tree. Okay. So let's move those out of the way. So now I've decided on my base colour what I put on this last one here, because again it's got to match in. So let's have a look. Let's go through again. What have I got that will match in with that green? Now, I quite like that. I'll just take that off there. I know it's using the whole pattern, but, oh, it doesn't want to come off. Let me just try and get it off. The bit that will show will be this bit, and I think that might look quite nice. I think I could be quite happy with that. So it's going to be, excuse me, 5.5. So I'm going to take 5.5 from the bottom. So 5.5 from the bottom. I done that the wrong way around? I have, haven't I? But it doesn't matter. So I'm going to take 5.5 from that way, which is what I should have done in the first place. Okay, let me just move that right out now. So I think that will look nice as my last piece. It needs to be that way round. So come on, wake your ideas up. It needs to be that way round. So I think that will look nice as my bottom piece. Now, before I stick it down, I just need to make sure that when I fold it, when this last one comes in, it doesn't push that out, and it doesn't. So I'm happy with that. So I'm going to round these two edges. Okay, and I'm going to go round with my inks. I dropped one more thing today, I should just give up. Okay, and I don't need to do this side because that's going to tuck under there like that. So that's where I want it to look, and I think that will look really lovely. So I'm going to pop this on here. So it is a good idea before you stick your last piece on, just to know what your background paper is going to look like. So I'm just going to lift that now because it's got glue on it. Put it into position. Thank you, Denise. So if you'd have said pink, I'm afraid you'd have been in the minority, so I wouldn't have gone with it, but I'm glad you like the green. Okay, let me just move those bits out the way. So now, as you open it up, this bit shows itself, and I think that is just lovely. So I'm very happy with that. So now this needs to go onto the page, which, if I remembered where I put the page, would be a really good start. Here it is. Okay. So again, I'm going to go around the edges of my paper. As I said before, I'm taking the ink not just on the edge, but actually over the edge to add to that slightly distressed look of the papers. Okay, and then that is going to go on there. Like so, following the arrow on the actual base. Okay, and then this is going to go in the middle. Do you know what? That should have been that way up, shouldn't it? Okay, I can get around that because I haven't done the other side yet. Stick the arrow there. Oh dear me. Okay, so it doesn't make any difference as long as the slots are on the side and I haven't got anything on the other side. I just need to make sure the arrow is changing directions. Now, on this, you only put your glue on here. Now, because you haven't done a firm fold, you should be able to get your fingers underneath, okay, which is what you want, because you want to be able to lift it, but also having that space means that it will move much more smoothly. Okay, so I'm going to position it where I want it. No, I'm going in the middle. I was wondering whether to go Maverick and just have a little bit more of that showing, but I'm going middle. Okay, and you're just pressing down, and you're pressing down where that band is, so you can sort of lift the others up very gently, because you don't want to slide the band, so that you can get into where that band is and give it a really good push down. But just do it very gently. Okay, so that is page 3 complete.